Who have been most impacted by these unprecedented events. I will first welcome Rachel Dion Thunder from the Indigenous Protector Movement. Rachel.
Tanse, Gananaskamotan, Nanaskamotan, Avsis Nanahiwak, Avsis Rachel Dion Thunder. Hello, everybody. Hello, Minnesota. Hello to the country, and hello to the world, to everybody who has stood up against this authoritarian regime. My name is Rachel Dion Thunder. I'm the Vice President of the Indigenous Protector Movement right here in South Minneapolis. And I'm also second-generation American Indian movement. I can tell you, as a Native woman, as an Indigenous person, that we are no strangers to fighting the federal government. We have been activated for generations, and every single United States president has committed an injustice towards Indigenous people. But what is happening now is the veil has been lifted. The veil has been lifted for many of you and for many of our fellow citizens across the country. The veil that this United States government uses to hide tactics of genocide against Indigenous people, against Black people, and against people of color. Historically, first we were deemed savages, then during the Civil Rights Movement, we were deemed radicals, and now, along many of you and many of our fellow citizens here in Minneapolis, we are being painted as domestic terrorists. Authoritarian regimes thrive off of fear and misinformation. Fear is an illusion of power. They use their violence to try and control us as people, as a community, and as neighbors. But what Minneapolis has shown them is that their violence and their tactics will not work. They use violence to control us. They try to say that we're the violent ones, that we're the terrorists, that we're the anarchists, when in fact they're the violent ones. They're the ones that take our children. They're the ones that scare our elders. They're the ones that have stolen our neighbors. They're the ones that spilt blood on these streets here. And they're the ones that destroy the earth. That violence is an illusion of power. That is a projection of their weakness. The real power, the true power, is here with each and every one of you. The true power is with every single person that held a whistle, that held a phone, that stood outside the schools, that put their literal lives on the line here in the streets of our city. And that's the power that they are scared of. That's the power that wins a war. And make no mistake, that has what has happened here. We have been at war. That's why your bodies feel the way they feel. That's why your spirit feels the way it feels. When we ran those white wingers out of town, I said, that's a victory. That's a battle victory. Victories were won every single day here on these streets. You can't just win one battle to win the war. But I will say that Minneapolis won all the battles. We protected our schools. We protected our children. We protected our neighbors, our businesses, our churches. We won the war. And now we're shifting into a time where we have to stay vigilant. Look at what they did to Native people here in this country. History always repeats itself. Adolf Hitler and the Nazis modeled their tactics off of what the United States government did to our people. And now they're modeling that and using it against our immigrant neighbors. Let the rest of the country and the world see how Minneapolis stood up and fought back, and use it as an example on how to resist and how to win. Our love and our commitment to each other is what got us through these times. And it's not over. These agents are still in our streets. They haven't left. All of them have not left yet. They're still based out of the Whipple building, which is on the historic Fort Snelling concentration camp, where thousands of Dakota people were held. We won't stop. We won't stand down until every single ICE agent is out of our community, until ICE is abolished, until our neighbors are safe, until our neighbors come home, and until every single brick of that fort is torn down. This is a call out to our people to not get comfortable. Don't get comfortable. We're exhausted. But like Peggy Flanagan said, we're not tired.
No, we're not. No.
We're not tired. We're not too tired to keep fighting. We're not too tired to show up to the midterms.
That's right.
We're not too tired to keep protecting our children. We're not too tired to keep fighting. And we're not too tired until this United States president, Donald J. Trump, is impeached from office and never comes the fuck back. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for putting your lives on the line for people you've never even met. And that's the power. That's the power that they're scared of. And that's the power that won the war here in Minneapolis. Thank you.
All right. Next, I'll invite up to the microphone leaders of our faith communities. We've got Rabbi Tamar McGill Grimm, Imam Matthew Ramadan, and Reverend Dr. Dwayne Davis. Rabbi?
Shalom, dear friends. My name is Rabbi Tamar McGill Grimm, and I am the Senior Rabbi of Beth Jacob Congregation. We stand here today in solidarity after months of pain, grief, and uncertainty, after our community has been traumatized by racial profiling, unlawful detainments, and violence, with blatant and open disrespect for the Constitution and for human life. People in our community have asked us to people in our community have lost loved ones, lost their sense of safety, and lost trust in the systems that are meant to protect us. And this administration has asked us to accept small gestures as progress, trying to convince us that a slow retreat from injustice is enough. It's not. We know the truth. A slow retreat from injustice is not the same as justice. Justice requires accountability. Justice requires truth-telling. Justice requires that human lives matter, not in theory, but in practice. Today, we demand accountability for the deaths of Renee Good and Alex Preddy, who were brutally murdered by ICE agents. We demand that those who have committed acts of violence in our streets be prosecuted. We demand an end to the unlawful detainment of people in horrible conditions. Our Minnesota community deserves transparency, responsibility, and real change. Our Minnesota community, which has shown the world what it means to love our neighbors, not with words alone, but with action, with courage, with solidarity. We have seen tremendous mutual aid rise up across the city and state. We have seen neighbors feed one another, care for one another, show up for one another, without being asked and without concern for the cost. Every faith community in this state has stepped up. Churches, synagogues, mosques, temples, communities of conscience have opened their doors, shared their resources, and lifted their voices together. We have prayed together, organized together, and stood shoulder to shoulder, not because we all worship the same way, but because we believe the same truth, that every human being is created in the image of the divine. Every human being deserves dignity, and no one is garbage. You want to see what loving your neighbor looks like? Look at our community. This is what democracy looks like when it is alive, not just in laws and courts, but in streets, in sanctuaries, in kitchens, in community halls, and in the fierce insistence that no one stands alone. And so we clearly say today together, we will not accept the suppression of truth in place of accountability. We will not accept corruption in place of justice. We will not allow grief to be brushed aside. We will keep showing up for Renee, for Alex, for their families, for every one of our neighbors who wonders whether they're safe in our streets. God has blessed our community. God has granted us the courage to demand justice. God has granted us the compassion to care for one another. May God grant us the strength to keep fighting and to build a democracy worthy of the people standing here today. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. With God's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. There is no power, there is no strength except in God. The Prophet Muhammad, the prayers and peace be upon him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, once said, when you see an injustice, you must change it. Change it first by your actions, by your hands. If you cannot change it by your hands, you must change it by your words. You must speak out against that injustice. If you cannot change it with your hands or your words, You must change it by registering strong feelings against it in your heart. But that is the weakest of faith. We stand here today not to exercise strong feelings in our heart, not even to exercise just our words, but to change with our hands, with our actions, an unprecedented affront to our very human dignity. This president has no respect for the rule of law, has no respect for human dignity, only respects money, only respects what he perceives to be power. But you and I know that in real life, he's a taco. And I'm not talking about the kind that we enjoy. Whenever he's faced with a real strong response, as it says, Trump always chickens out. We are that strong response. The people united will never be defeated. I want to share a little brief thing with you, but I'll step back. I first learned that as a 6-year-old child in Los Angeles, California. A man by the name of Ronald X Stokes was shot to death by the Los Angeles Police Department when he was doing nothing but asking the police not to brutalize us as a people. A man by the name of Malcolm X came to town, and my family embraced that you have to stand up for your own rights as a people. That idea of not letting people brutalize you, when Malcolm X was killed a few years later, another young man stood up in Los Angeles by the name of Bunchy Carter. And Bunchy Carter was the head of the Los Angeles division of the Black Panther Party for self-defense. Since I was a child, I've been taught, don't let nobody put their hands on you. Not even the police, but especially not the police. Follow the law. Obey the rules of law. Be courteous. Be intentional in your words. But don't let people put their hands on you. And I'm telling you now, as a 69-year-old man living here in the city of Minneapolis, it ain't going to end well for them if they put their hands on me. It is not going to end like they think. And all of us should have that. Don't walk in fear. Don't walk afraid to go out. Walk with your head held high that, it's not going to happen here today. And I love you, the city of Minneapolis, for expressing that exact same sentiment. It ain't going to end well, Donald Trump. Thank you. Hey out there! I can't hear you. I want to hear you. Oh, we didn't come here to play games. We are out here to make a statement. Let me hear you. I am Reverend Dr. Dwayne Davis, a clergyman, a political scientist, a professor, but someone who loves Minnesota and loves this city. You know, when that wannabe dictator conscripted those mercenaries and bounty hunters under the color of ICE to surge here in Minnesota, they thought that we would be too distracted to notice that they were unconstitutionally and illegally breaking down our doors of our homes, our schools, and churches. They thought that we would be too self-absorbed to notice that our neighbors, our immigrant neighbors, were being kidnapped and disappeared, and that we would sit silently by when we noticed it. When they killed Renee Good and Alex Preddy in cold blood, they thought we would be too afraid to stand out in these streets and thought we'd go home. But as I've said over and over again, you messed up, Donald Trump. You underestimated these people who are standing here today. You underestimated our resolve and our resilience. You underestimated people who understand and know how to get warm in below zero weather. You misunderstood. But you also misunderstood one important thing. They have a history when they're in trouble or when their agenda is faltering to try to find a scapegoat to point at our immigrant neighbors or our transgender neighbors or our black and brown neighbors so that they will make you upset. They'll make you hate who they hate. But they messed up. They misunderstood that we are motivated by a deeper call. That we not only recognize the inherent worth of our neighbors, but we also take care of our neighbors. And we're not going home until you leave our neighbors alone. One of Dr. King's, Martin Luther King's mentors and advisors said, the point at which a democracy lives or dies is in the human heart, in the human spirit. And the one thing that you have demonstrated over the last several weeks is that your heart and your spirit has been stirred. And so you've been out in the streets with your whistles. You've been out there singing. You have been out there marching. You have been out there standing in interference. You will not let this stand. And you should celebrate now because we will not let it stand. And so when they are telling us and lying to us and saying they're going to go home, keep your hearts and your spirits stirred to action. Don't go home. Don't sit back. Stay in the streets. Keep the fight up. Stand up to them. Show them what neighborliness looks like. Show them what justice looks like. Don't go home. Don't get tired. Don't stop. We stand up for our immigrant neighbors. We stand up. And so I want to encourage you now. I know you're tired. I know there's some hard days coming ahead of us. I know that the fear and fury of that tin pot dictator won't end easily. But you stand up and you stay on this watch. Join hands with your neighbors and keep it up. And I'm going to leave you with the wisdom of that modern day prophet Beyonce. We're telling everybody, you won't break our souls, Minnesota. You won't break us. You won't stop us. We'll continue. We'll keep singing. We'll keep blowing those whistles. We will protect our neighbors. We won't leave. You won't break our souls.
Short girl again. All right. We have a couple of our immigrant neighbors who are coming up to speak now. I've got Malika Tahir from Reviving Sisterhood and Pauli from the Assembly of Civil Rights. Malika.
I'm good, how are you? Of course they would have me follow a ma'am and a reverend. I'm just a girl. I'd like to begin by acknowledging and honoring the Indigenous people, the Dakota and the Anishinaabe, who have the longest relationship with this land that we now call home, Minnesota. This land is and always will be Indigenous land. We also recognize the contribution of our diverse ancestors, those who came to Minnesota and the United States seeking safety, opportunity, and dignity, as well as those who were brought here against their will. Their lessons of perseverance and resistance continue to shape and guide our lives today. As a woman of faith, I also want to bring the Most High into this space. May my words be grounded in truth, guided by justice, and rooted in compassion. Now let me tell you this. Minnesota is home to one of the largest and most vibrant immigrant communities in the nation. Across the Twin Cities and beyond, immigrants have shaped our neighborhoods, our economy, our culture, and our shared future. Can you imagine Minnesota without immigrant spice? No! In Cedar River, Riverside, often called Little Mogadishu, Somali families and other East African communities built businesses, mosques, community institutions that anchor the city. Along Lake Street in South Minneapolis, Latino and Oromo entrepreneurs turned storefronts into spaces of culture and survival. On east side of St. Paul, our Hmong elders planted roots after fleeing war, creating one of the largest Hmong communities in our country. This is Minnesota. This is who we are. In the suburbs, shout out Brooklyn Park. Liberian, Ethiopian, Mexican, Central American, South Asian, Southeast Asian families. Arabs, Palestinians, Jordanians, Syrians. We have transformed apartment complexes into night villages. They have opened restaurants, grocery stores, childcare centers, clinics, construction companies. They have built churches, temples, mosques. They have raised children who are now teachers, nurses, engineers, artists, and elected officials. This is Minnesota. Family, these are not demographic facts. They are lived stories. Somali mothers working night shift to send their children to college. Hmong farmers preserving agricultural traditions at local markets. My Latino sisters and brothers, construction workers building the very homes in which we lay our heads. Eritrean youth organizing and registering voters. Indigenous and immigrant communities standing together to protect the water, the very land. This is Minnesota. Our collective stories, our labor, our presence have built the very fabric of this state. And because of that, Donald Trump, we refuse to let you weaponize race, religion, or immigrant status to divide us. Our humanity is not conditional. It's not tied to productivity or economic output or what we bring to the table. No one should have to plead for recognition of their humanity, and no community should be made to feel unsafe simply for existing. Minnesota, on stolen land, we reject the idea that people can be reduced to legal documents. That labor or status, especially on stolen land, we're going to hunt people down based on their legal status. Minnesota, we say that human beings are not illegal. Our value is inherent. Our lives are sacred. And our communities deserve dignity, safety, and respect. Minnesota, I am proud to call you home. We showed the country that here, solidarity is not just a slogan, it's a verb. We did that. It's a decision that each and every one of you has made to stand shoulder to shoulder and say, not my neighbor and not on my watch. You know what we did, Minnesota? We got to know our neighbors. We protected our neighbors. We gave our neighbors rights to school. We provided mutual aid. We advocated for eviction moratorium. That's what we did. And we showed the country that we led by example. You know what we did? We reminded the world that our communities will not be divided, that we are each other's keepers. You know what else we did? We won the drawdown of ICE agents. We did that. The the news of the drawdown is good news, and we're going to take a moment to celebrate it. And it wouldn't have been made possible without us. But this is not the end. Families are still sheltering in place. Some of our neighbors, including children, are still missing. Immigrant-owned businesses have been devastated. Rent is overdue. State funds remain withheld, and voter roll demands are still unresolved. But you know what we can do? We can acknowledge this moment, but we must stay focused. There is still much work to do. But if there's one thing I know, it is this, is that we have each other. We got us, Minnesota. We got us. Thank you.
Yep. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Feels so wonderful to be up here and feel the energy. And I want to thank you all just for being out here. You know, as the son of immigrants up here, I grew up with many other children of immigrants and immigrants themselves. A lot of dreamers, many who became doctors, nurses, you know, mental health practitioners. And I guess I just say this to remind everybody that the immigrants, all the baloney they try to spew, all the hateful things they try to say about immigrants is nonsense. And I appreciate you all being here, you know, showing out in support, love for your neighbors, love for your community. And I have to share a sad story from the past weekend. So I am the treasurer for Asamblea de Derechos Civiles. And, you know, while I am happy to hear that they're going to be drawing out their forces of ICE gradually, I wouldn't trust them. You know, I've never been able to trust them. We never have been able to. Do y'all trust them? No, we can't trust them. You know, one of the neighbors where I grew up, about 3 weeks ago, had a home visit from ICE. And it's because they know they have his information. He had a valid work permit to be here, right? And luckily, after about a 45-minute detainment, they let him go because he had a valid work permit, right? Now this man, Miguel, he is a truck driver. And unfortunately, just this past weekend, we got word from his wife that he was detained in Texas. So, just to show you that doing things the right way is no guarantee of freedom in this country, right? And we're going to do what we can to try to, you know, get him out of there, but he is being processed right now in Texas, even though he did everything the right way. And it's just a reminder that as long as, you know, as the late, great Dr. Martin Luther King said, an injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And so it's not going to stop now, not after Miguel is processed. We have to keep fighting, keep showing out in community like this, look each other in the eyes and say thank you all for being here, for showing out here in love for your neighbors, love for your community again. And let's go make some noise today on the streets. Thank you all again for being here.
Okay, friends, we're going to begin marching in a moment. As a reminder, please line up behind the banners as we get ready today. As we march, we will continue to hear from the Minnesotans who have shaped this resistance, and we will amplify our demands. ICE out of Minnesota now! Justice for Renee Good and Alex Preddy. Restore protections for sensitive places like our schools and hospitals. Rescind ICE funding and move forward with real